Hi there. In a recent video, I talked a little about the Tuscan Islands, where my dad's from. Today I want to give a brief history lesson on the most illustrious of the islands, Outer Bald Head, otherwise known as the Principality of Outer Baldonia. In the late 1940s, while sport fishing for tuna off of Wedgeport, Nova Scotia, a man named Russell Arundel, soon to be known as the Prince of Princes, stumbled upon the treeless 4-acre island known as Outer Bald Head. At the time, Wedgeport was home to one of the largest, possibly the largest, tuna fishing tournament in the world, which brought in all kinds of sports fishers. Even Amelia Earhart competed at one point in the 30s. Now, the Prince of Princes was an American by birth and a businessman. He had an office in Washington, D.C. He bought the island from Eli Cutro and Ida Dowsett for $750 in 1948. And before then, it had been mostly used for grazing sheep in season and as a stopover point for fishermen. Arundel and his friends built a one-room stone longhouse on the island, and upon its completion, they drafted the official charter of Outer Baldonia and the Declaration of Independence, which reads, in part, "Let these facts be submitted to a candid world, that fishermen are a race alone, and that fishermen are endowed with the following inalienable rights: the right of freedom from question, nagging, shaving, interruption, women, taxes, politics, wars, monologues, cant, and inhibitions, the right to swear, lie, drink, gamble, the right to sleep all day and stay up all night. Now, therefore, we bond ourselves into a new nation forever independent of all other nations, and do establish on the islands and waters of Outer Bald Island a new government which shall be forever respected and recognized as the Principality of Outer Baldonia." Arundel then had himself declared the Prince of Princes, and appointed his friend Prue Savoy Prince Regent, Minister of State, and Ambassador to the United States without portfolio or credentials. Over the next few years, the citizenry of Outer Baldonia will grow to over 70 people, most, if not all of whom held the title of prince. To become a prince, you had to catch a tuna fish and pay a $30 fee. Women were banned from the island, but could still become citizens. There's at least one princess on record. Hopefully she didn't have to pay the $30 fee, because that would be a bit of a raw deal, not getting to go to the island and all. I don't know what their policy was on trans folks. As well as being princes, most citizens had elaborate and impressive titles like Ambassador Extraordinaire and Minister Plenipotentiary, and they wore ornate robes of state. The longhouse that Arundel had built became known as the Palace, and was declared the official capital of Outer Baldonia. They had a flag, which depicted a tuna fish on a green background, an official seal which showed 2 crossed tuna and a sheep, and a national currency, the tuner, which came in 1 tuner coins and 25,000 tuner bills, with no denomination in between. The bills depicted the Prince of Princes and the words "War on Poverty." The national culture had a decidedly fishy bent. The national pastime was tuna fishing. The chief exports were fish, the occasional sheep, and, most of all, empty rum and beer bottles. In 1950, the Prince of Princes had his Washington office listed in the phone books as the Outer Baldonian Legation. Now, legation is a type of embassy, and pretty soon he started receiving requests for information about the Principality, applications for citizenship, and invitations from other diplomats in Washington. In 1952, an article appeared in a large Soviet newspaper condemning the Outer Baldonians as savages and immoral Western imperialists. Outer Baldonia responded by cutting off all trade and diplomatic ties with the Soviet Union. When the Soviets didn't back down, Outer Baldonia declared war in 1953. The Baldonian military consisted mainly of its navy, with 69 admirals and up to 100 vessels, mostly fishing boats, as well as support from the Armadale Yacht Club in Halifax. Their fleet never actually made it across the Atlantic to Russia. They may have stopped to fish along the way. In the end, the Soviets backed down, but continued to write scathing critiques of the Outer Baldonian way of life. The Baldonians claimed this as a victory. In 1973, the Prince of Princes sold the island to the Nova Scotia Bird Society for the price of $1 Canadian, thereby officially ending the Principality of Outer Baldonia. The island is now a bird sanctuary, although a few locals still graze their sheep there. The palace is still standing, although the roof was blown off in a hurricane, and around Nova Scotia there's still a handful of retired fishermen who have their Outer Baldonian robes of state in the back of the closet. So if you ever find yourself in southwest Nova Scotia, you should check out the Yarmouth County Museum, where they have the original charter of Outer Baldonia, or the Wedgeport Tuna Museum, which has some interesting Baldonian artifacts as well. Or you can just get yourself a boat, maybe some kayaks, maybe a guide if you're not that familiar with kayaks or boating, and paddle out to the island itself. It's still a terrific spot for fishing, and a good spot for gathering kelp. Happily, the ban on women has been lifted. So that's all for today, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.